Easter blue on this week. It's a special week. I'm going to give everybody just a couple of minutes to get in the room. I know we've got people who are getting reminders right now that we're starting live. So I want to give everybody a second. But what you can do, you can go ahead and pop in on those comments. Just tell me what your name is and where you're from so that we can kind of welcome you to today's Mentor Monday. We've designed Mentor Monday to be a weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. And so I love working with coaches. My name is Paul Dabdu. I'm the founder of Life Coach Training Institute, and I've literally worked with thousands of coaches over the years. In many cases, we're training, but in a lot of cases, we're doing a lot of mentoring and helping our coaches get barriers out of the way and become not just proficient coaches. Skills are one thing, but to have thriving practices. That's what my passion is. And so people are making their way into the room. There's Santos. Hey, how's it going, Santos? I connect with Santos every now and then on Instagram and in different places, so I appreciate that. Who else is in the room? If you want, just throw a comment down. Let us know that you're in the room so that we can acknowledge your first name and where you're joining us from, if your first name is not obvious in there. But let's go ahead and jump in to the topic today. And today's topic is, what clients are a right fit for you? How do you determine whether or not someone is a good fit for you? Now, let me say this as a disclaimer. What I'm going to tell you is different, and we will cut that off. What I'm going to tell you is actually different than your target market and your niche. My assumption is that you know who it is that you want to work with and how you want to help them. So I define target market and niche a little bit differently in the sense of target's your who, niche is what kinds of problems do you help people solve? What do you help people accomplish? What's the one simple desire that you help them get? But in that, just because someone is in your target market does not mean that they are a good fit to become one of your clients. There's some other things that are going on in the background. Some of it has to do with the client, but a lot of it has to do with you. Okay, so let's talk really quickly through those things. And I see some highs in there. Hey, Raffaello, thanks so much for joining us. And I believe who else is that? Is that Una? Like one from Vancouver? Awesome. It's actually one. That's how you pronounce your name. And Raffaello, thanks so much. Hey, welcome everybody. So let's jump into what some of these things really are. Number one, here's the important thing that you guys have got to do. And I know that you guys are new to coaching for the most part, but the first thing that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to trust your gut. A lot of new coaches, because I've been around the block for a while, and they see the success in some of the things, and they think, Paul, tell me everything so that you can prevent me from making mistakes and all of these other kinds of things. The reality is that every one of you, even if you are a brand new coach, or at least new to coaching, you recently got certified, you're just getting started, you're not a spring chicken. Every one of us has intuition. For your whole life, you've lived your life on intuition. You've lived your life on gut feelings, gut impressions, and those kinds of things. That is gold. And what I would say is that if you have anything that is off with someone, if you sense something below the surface, something's a little bit not right, they're saying all the right things, but there's an uneasiness, there's a check. What I would say is there's an inward check going in there that really no questions can really satisfy. Because sometimes I've had that check and I've asked maybe some questions, but it doesn't really register. There's something deep in there. You've got to respond to that. And I know what it's like to start out as a coach and you want to get clients and maybe you feel like you need money or whatever. Your gut's never wrong. I just find that people's guts always know there's something behind closed doors. There's something below the surface. There's something that's just off and it's not right. And it could be that gut check could be about something about that individual, but it could be something that you see as a potential challenge for you in your relationship. There's no way, and here's how we work as human beings. There's no way you could ask every question that you possibly could to avoid every conflict you're ever going to have in a relationship. Sometimes you're going to take chances and you're going to be disappointed with people. That's okay. That's just kind of like dealing with human beings. Sometimes you should be surprised. Sometimes you should be in life taking, taking a chance in terms of relationships, as far as friends and some of those other things. When it comes to business, not something I really want to do. I don't want to have a relationship that goes sour. I don't want to have someone that the expectations were off. And I should have. And here's the thing: is you should always listen to your gut. And if you're married and you are a little bit off with your gut, just ask your wife. Because every time that my wife has told me, watch out, don't do this or whatever, and I didn't listen, I always got burnt. So first thing, trust your gut. Second thing is this, is that when you're choosing someone, you're really going to be looking for this thing called chemistry. Now, I work with our Jumpstart students in Jumpstart Your Coaching Practice. What we do is every week we have a group coaching call. We have a 20 module business development roadmap that shows you the A to Z on how to develop your coaching practice. We give feedback on what you're working on and all of those sorts of things. But the beginning of Jumpstart is all about you discovering who is your best fit. It's asking the right questions, doing discovery. What I would say is you're doing your homework on people. Because what we can tell is up to now, there are some people we have chemistry with, there's some people that we don't. And if there is not chemistry, it usually doesn't turn into the kind of relationship that we want. Chemistry, it's this X factor. I can't really tell people, sometimes you'll meet people and you're like, man, I should get so and so together because they would have a lot of fun. I can see them connecting. And sometimes we're right about that, and sometimes we're not. There literally is chemistry, like physically some things that take place. And you're going to sense that immediately. What I usually tell our coaches to do is, as you're discovering your target market, I want you to think through, this will keep you from making some of those mistakes on the front end. Who are the kinds of people who motivate you? Who are the kinds of people that demotivate you? Who are the kinds of people that you have helped your entire life and you seem to continue helping? Not the people who suck you dry, but the people who give you life. And so we've got to think and we've got to capture some of these things, because listen, if it feels off, if there's just not chemistry there, there's not a good give and take. If there's now, granted, we can always develop our listening skills and we can always work on things, but here's the thing: I can think of early on, there were a couple of clients that I knew the gut thing wasn't a problem. The chemistry thing was, and I just kind of had a sense that, I don't know how well this thing's really going to go. For one, because I could tell that they were kind of a low energy person. Matter of fact, what ended up happening is that as I started coaching people after a while, I actually developed a profile, a really tight profile. Besides just the kind of the discovery work that I have our coaches do, sometimes you can actually have a personality profile that that you mix really well with. And but I could usually read people very quickly, and I could tell, is there going to be chemistry there? Can I help this person? Are they going to have success? Because this is on both ends. It's for you as a coach to every day be excited about who you're working with, to always be fully all in, completely motivated every time you see this person, that you're like, man, I'm thinking about that person. I can't wait until we get together, all of those things. Contrast that to a person you don't have chemistry with. It's like pulling teeth, and you don't know why. You can ask the exact same questions and they might be a great person, but there's not chemistry. So I'm thinking about a couple of these people from the past, and I just needed money, and I was like, I know I don't really have chemistry, but I'm going to work with them. And it was so hard to get motivated for those calls. And it's a disservice to you, but it's also a disservice to the client. If you pick someone who is the right fit, you are going to do your best work and you're going to be excited every time you go. But also, they are going to get the best results if we do that. Now, here is the next thing, and this is probably not something that really anybody talks about, but I'm going to talk about. It's this sneaky thing called values. I have actually, me and my wife sat together after all these years, and it's not just because I'm into personal development or whatever. I wanted to make sure that we had an end game, that we were really clear about what we wanted in life and what was really important to us. Values are always happening every day of your life. Values are operating every day at your work. The people that you are around, values are operating there. Whatever organization that you're a part of, whatever church you go to, or any of those other kinds of things, there's always values that are being expressed. And we talk in those things all the time, but they lurk around in the background and we kind of think that they don't really matter. And I'm not talking about family values or American values or any of those other things. I'm talking about your own personal values. And these are things that do not change very easily. Matter of fact, pretty much when you get your values set, they are in there and they're expressed. And so value is your why. And there's always an action that is associated with the why. And so what happens is that sometimes there's big degrees of action depending on what your why is. It means that there's going to be low action if it does not line up with your values, and there's going to be high action if it is one of your values. Now, what am I talking about when I talk about values? Well, there's going to be a number of them. There's going to be things like integrity. There's going to be things like achievement. There's going to be things like winning. There's going to be a lot of that stuff that is lurking every day, and it's making you make a lot of the decisions that you make. And the only way that I can tell what your values are is I look at your actions that you're taking in life, and I can ask the why questions. And usually, as coaches, we're taught not to ask why. Now, when I'm coaching someone, I'm not asking why questions because they're judgmental, but the why questions that we need to ask about ourselves are not judgmental. It's just kind of getting to the bottom of what is my heart's motivation? What am I hoping to achieve? There's a deeper reason why, and we need to know what our why behind our why is. There's some great books that are out there and some other things if you want to look deeper into your own why. But see, values are really important, because if you are coaching someone who has different values than you, then you're going to have conflict, because you're high action on the things that you have a value for, and you're low action and you actually can't even move. You're paralyzed when there is a conflict with your values. I mean, let's think of some other ones. It's integrity, there's loyalty, there's trust, there's a bunch of different things. Their integrity is bigger than just being honest. I mean, it's like some really big things. There might be accountability. It might be responsibility. It might be some a value with regard to how we treat people in relationships. What do you think about divorce? I mean, there's things like this that come up. Spiritual beliefs affect what your values are. And for some coaches, they're perfectly fine coaching anyone who is of any faith or of no faith. But there's some people that, based on what their spiritual values are, they can't coach someone who is from a different faith or from no faith. And I'm not knocking that. I'm telling you, I can't argue with your values. You need to determine what they are. Because here's what happens. If there is a conflict on values that really matter. Now, not all values are equal, okay? Values are ranked. We might say this is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you might have other ones that are a little bit less significant that are down the line. But if we're in your top 5 values and you're in conflict with your client's value, here's what's going to happen is that you'll sometimes have a conflict in your coaching, because you're going to want them to take on your value, or you're going to think, oh, their values are wrong and I want them to take my values on. We never guide people in our coaching to where we think that they should go. We guide them on what they want to. And so here's the thing is that I can't argue with a client's values. Their values are set. I have to honor that. That's the thing. Now, here's the other thing that comes out of values as well, which is a really big one, because this differs, okay? Morality. Sometimes people don't think white lies are a big deal. Sometimes, and you may not think that they are a big deal. Maybe you do. I don't know. But sometimes there are things like that kind of come up. I can remember there was this individual. He met all of my criteria in terms of my target market and a lot of other kinds of things. Was an executive, business owner in real estate for like 30 years. The money was there. Everything sounded right. Except that when we started having conversations with one another, and I'm getting to know them, and I would say it's kind of like in that phase where you just kind of like, it was like, oh, there's some checks that were starting to come up about him. And what I ended up finding is that he sued a lot of his clients that he had. It was like he was constantly in lawsuits. Now, if I asked him about that, he would tell me he was in the right, and he may actually think that he was in the right. Except that I also started finding out more confirmed when my gut kind of felt like things were off, and then I can sense, I could sense in some of the things that he said about women, kind of jokes and stuff like that. And it was like, dude, morality issues are coming up big time for me, and I can't coach this person. Yeah, they would pay me a lot of money and they would actually get some success, but I can't go against my conscience every time that I'm working with this person, and I don't want to be in a battle for them. And so these are some big high end, like 40,000 foot issues that you can begin looking at as you're dealing with people. Here's some other things that you need to look at, and I'm going to do these super quick so that you can ask these questions and that much more help determine if someone's a really good fit. One is the fees question. If someone's getting hit hard about fees and they're just bargain shopping or something like that, that's not a good fit. That's someone who doesn't value me, and it's not someone who values the process, and they're not going to get change. So I'm not going to really waste my time, no matter how much money I might think that I need. I'm not looking for bargain shoppers. I'm also not looking for someone who's looking at 30 different coaches and telling me that. I'm like, if somebody calls me and they say, hey, I've been shopping around for a coach, that conversation is done. That's not someone who wants a relationship, and it's not someone who's in. There's too many people who want to work with me that could really benefit from my services and will pay my full fee. Okay. If someone has money issues, man, I love people. I want to help everyone, but we're also in business. Help people when you can afford to help them. If you cannot afford to help them, I'm asking you not to go all internal and feel bad about who you're leaving out. They will be resourceful enough to try to figure this thing out. And if they really want your help, listen, it is never about the money. And it's hard for coaches to hear this and get this because it seems counterintuitive because everybody thinks it's about the money. It is never about the money. It is always about whether people want to change enough, and if they believe that you can help them. Because the reality is that I'll give you an example. Not to do a sales point, I'll just put this up here so that you can actually see what I'm talking about here. Our Jumpstart program is $97 a month. Okay, not only do you get certified and trained because it bundles with that, but you also get 20 module business development roadmap. You get a weekly group coaching call because this kind of gives you a taste of what that's like. We do case studies. So if anybody has any struggles with any kind of area, we make sure that you don't get stuck. We give you feedback on what you're working on. We also have an online community where you can role play with other people. You can get feedback on what you're working on, all of these kinds of things. And it's only $97 a month. But you know what? Some people are like, that's $97 a month. What would I do? Well, have you ever thought about the fact that a lot of people drink coffee? This little Starbucks cup, how much is that? Is it at least $3.25 before tip? And people do this every week. Now, here's the thing, is that when you have people who say that they have money issues, they're already spending money on what matters to them. They're getting cable, they're getting internet, they're doing a lot of other things. So the fact is that everybody has the money. The reality is that a lot of times people don't want to commit, and so they'll just blame the money issue. What's $3.25 a day? $3.25 a day. You know how much it is? It is approximately $97 a month. that you could actually get trained and certified and get your business up and going. So what I'm pointing out here and using us as an example as a school is that reality is that if people have money issues and they're talking about money issues, they're having major transition in their life, because there are people who truly have money issues. I don't want to start coaching that person. We have got to build the value of what we do so high that they're willing to pay for it. Because here's the thing, and I use this example as well. If you went to the doctor today and you found out that you had some kind of rare disease, and they said, listen, you have a rare disease, it is 100% chance that you're going to die of it in the next 90 days. But there's a cure for it, and it's 100% that there's a cure for this disease. But the problem is that it's not, the cure is not covered under insurance, and it's going to cost you about $500,000. I don't think that any of us are like saying, that doesn't really fit in my budget. I like my Starbucks. We're not going to walk out of there, because why? Because we value our life, and we also value the solution. So we're going to pay for it. So people are going to start GoFundMe's. They're going to sell whatever they need to do, get a new mortgage, remortgage, refinance, sell something or whatever. They'll find the resources to do it. And so don't cheat people out of their change. And change, I understand the whole money thing. Everybody kind of gets triggered by money. Whether you hate money or you love money, you are going to have an emotional reaction to it. Okay. And so don't be scared about this thing. But if somebody legitimately has money issues, then there's somebody that I'm going to avoid. Okay. Now, here's the other thing is, last thing that I'm going to say, what are the deal killers? And here's the thing. If I do a complimentary session and someone is late, if someone no-shows or cancels, and it's not an emergency, not a good fit for me. And you might think that that's kind of harsh, because if someone's late, they devalued my time right off the front end. If they no-show, they're not ready, and I'm not a good fit for them. I'm not going to spend my time in that. If they cancel and it is a non-emergency cancellation, something came up, you're not committed to your change, and you're not committed to me. I hold if I do a complimentary session or a consultation with people and they do these kinds of things. Now, granted, some people just do have some issues that are coming up in their life, and that's part of the things that they need to confront. But I'm telling you that these are deal killers for me. Now, let's say that we have that complimentary session and someone shows up 15 minutes late. You know what I do? Before I'll ever step in a relationship with them, I confront that very thing and said, listen, I understand that there's traffic out there and you weren't ready. It's San Diego. There's always going to be traffic. I need you to think about the fact that there's always going to be traffic and show up on time. Because if you're 15 minutes late, I'm not giving you 15 minutes more, because I am going to be on time, because I value you and I value your transformation. And if you're showing up like this with me, then that means that you're showing up like this in other areas of life. And I need to hold you accountable in this area. So let's make sure that we know this, because once we sign this contract, if you're late, I still get paid. If you no-show, I still get paid. If you cancel and it's not an emergency, I still get paid. This is really important on the value, on the whole value system of things. And you know what the result is? No one is ever late. No one ever no-shows on me, and no one ever cancels. Matter of fact, they don't even do that in the complimentary sessions that I've given. People always show up, and they're prepared and they're ready, because the value is there. So hopefully that was really helpful. I'm going to go to some of the questions that are coming in on here. Let's see. I'm going to go to Ginas question that she sent the other day. And because I see Gina's on the call, and she's also talking about, I think that I'm seeing where there's some connection issues, where there's some problems where I'm not signing clients or whatever. So I'm going to go to Gina's first question so that we're all on board with the same thing. And Gina says, let's see here. See if we can get the entire thing on. I have a lot of people come to me, but they seem to want free information. There is much interest, but no one seems to want to pay for my services. How do I convert them, or how do I find the right clients that will pay for my services? I'm discouraged that I cannot get them to become clients. And I asked some follow-up questions of where are these people finding you? Do they already know you? And the fact that Gina says there's much interest. And so let me jump into this follow-up and not all of the follow-ups. What we're really talking about is 5 or so. My marketing and networking isn't where it needs to be. I'm still working on that. People have even asked for my contact info, not for themselves, but for others they know. And that doesn't pan out either. I check in, but I don't want to be annoying. Okay, cool. So let's not fix problems that aren't a problem. Okay, this is the first thing. When we Gina, I know you're on this, and so, but this is for everybody, okay? Because this is a universal problem amongst a lot of coaches, and I want to help you guys address it and get away from it. There are a lot of times when people will go to a consultant and they'll ask questions. They'll say, "Oh, I'm having trouble getting this," and they'll say, "Well, do this; it'll fix it." I'm not somebody who tries to fix everything and jumps to conclusions. I have to ask specific questions. There's not that many barriers that keep people from working with us. Okay. Know this on the front end. Let's say this. Gina says that there's a lot of people who have expressed interest. First off, interest does not equal potential client. Okay. This is the first thing for you guys all to get. And Gina's asked a specific question, but this is for everybody in the way that I bring this in. Interest does not mean potential client. I do not want to define someone's interest, someone messaging me on Facebook, on Instagram, even leaving me a voicemail, sending me an email. I do not treat this person as a potential client. They could be, but I don't know anything about them. What I have done as a coach is I have defined very clearly what I've done here. We want to make a door for people to get in here, but see, the point of a whole door for people to come work with me is to see the door closes and there's this wall all around it. Because here's the thing: is I want people to come in the door, but I don't want everybody to come in the door, and I want the right people to come in the door. So that's why I've defined what my target market is and what my niche is. I'm not going to gauge someone's interest on whether or not they're really a qualified person to work with me. Now, here's the thing is that, again, interest does not, oh, that paper is gone. I bought the expensive ones. Interest does not equal potential client. And this is what will happen to you. If you treat interest like someone's a potential client, when they email you and then everything, and then they go silent and there's radio silence and everything else, you are disappointed. Your heart got broken. You got all engaged emotionally and you thought something was going to happen. And now you're disappointed. And so what ends up happening, and this is the thing that you guys are going to have to do. I wish I had a red marker up here. Where's my red marker? Listen, when you are a coach, you're also a business person, but you're also a human being. And you know what that means? You've got a human heart, and you got to protect this thing every day. So if I treat everybody who shows me interest as though they're a potential client, like they were ever going to hire a coach, like they were ever going to hire you, then this person's going to break my heart and it's going to hurt. Now, here's what ends up happening is that when I treat things like this, what happens with everything that happens, especially things towards our hearts and with other human beings, there is the truth of what happened. Okay? This is why we've got to manage it. This person, what's the truth of what happened? This person sent me a bunch of messages on Instagram and emailed me. And then when it came down to it, they didn't work with me. That's the truth of what happened. And I would say the truth is really this. This person was window shopping and they completely wasted your time. That's probably what the real truth is. But there's the truth of what happens. This is what we would say is reality, okay? Reality, okay? Now, let me show you something that's bigger than that. The bigger thing than the truth and reality is the story that we tell. Now, here's the thing for you, Gina, and it's not just for you, but it's for everybody because I work with coaches all the time, so I see this. When your first message came out, you said there was a lot of people showing interest, and but they're not becoming paying clients. What most consultants will think is there's all of these people that we're not converting into clients. So let's fix your marketing and let's fix your branding and let's put lipstick on the pig is usually what people will do. But when I dialed down and I asked the questions, is I said, okay, is this 100 people? Is this 50 people? Is this 25 people? Reality is that you're talking about 5 people. And this is what you shared with me in the comments. This is only 5 people. Okay. If you had 100 people or 25 people even, I would say, well, let's start figuring out what the problems are. That's 5 people. Okay. That's not even a sampling enough for me to look at is what you're doing working or not. Okay. So here's the other thing that happens is that when these 5 people create a wound, by your own admission, what you said is my marketing's not where it's supposed to be. Here's what happens is that because I didn't protect this and I didn't protect the door, I didn't protect my heart. Now I'm hurt by it. And so what it means is that I'm disengaging in marketing. That's what's happening right now. You're disengaging from doing what you need to do to build your business because you got hurt and it felt like rejection because that's the story that you're telling yourself. And that's not what it was because this is not a potential client. So they can't reject you. That's why when I tell a better story about the people who come and they send me emails and all this other stuff, I'm like, I'm not going to message people through a bunch of emails. You know what I do? When somebody starts sending me a bunch of emails, I send them an email back. And I'd say, listen, hey, I appreciate your questions, but I have, and this is what I tell people, and it's the God's honest truth. I have a limited group of people that I work with, and I have limited availability. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. And this is the 4 pre-qualifying questions that all of us should be asking before we ever even offer a complimentary session. 1, do you know, I'm not going to write the whole thing out. Do you know what you want? Because they need to want something. Okay. When people don't know what they want, they're going to waste your time in their own time. And so this is not a person who's ready to become a client yet. They're in this interest level, but they don't know what they want yet. Okay. What's question number 2? On a scale of 1 to 10, how critical is it that you're going to do something about this? I am looking for somebody who's actually wants change, and it's kind of gotten to this pain point. When I say pain point, what I'm saying is that they have gotten to a desire level. Desire has risen up so much that they want something so bad that it's painful. Okay. So if they are not at least 8 or higher, I'm not doing a complimentary session. You know why? Because they're up here. They're not here. Okay. Third question is on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to ask a commitment question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how committed, if I can demonstrate to you that I can help you get your solutions, how committed are you to working with a coach on a scale of 1 to 10? If somebody knows me, what I'll say is on a scale of 1 to 10, how convinced are you that I can help you get your solution? And I'm looking for a number of 8 or higher. Okay. Why? Because they're just in the interest realm and they're not a potential client if they don't know what they want, if it's not critical for them to do something about it, and they're not committed to ever even working with me. Okay. Now, the 4th one is the money question. And I use this word budget. I don't talk fees because because someone who wants to just hit me with fees on the front end, they're going to knock themselves out of the opportunity to work with me. But what I will say is I'll say, have you looked at the next 90 days, looked in your budget to make room for working with a coach for the next 90 days? So I use a word like budget because it doesn't trigger people. It sounds reasonable. And it is a budget because it's not that I'm going to be a low cost coach. It's that we're going to work together and make something that works for both of us. So it's absolutely going to fit in there. I can tell people it's going to fit in your budget. That's the one thing that I can tell you because because it depends on what we're working on, and I'll propose it. I'm not being evasive on the question. I don't know what that price is going to be really, and so this is what defines whether or not someone's a potential client. They do not get a complimentary session until they ask these things like they need. They answer these things like they need to answer them. This one right here is about commitment more than it is about the money. Are they committed and do they want something? And here's what I would say. A lot of people kind of want something, but they're not really willing to go over the top. I want six-pack abs. Do I have six-pack abs? I know you do, but I don't. Do I want six-pack abs? I do, but it's not critical. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to eat Oreos. I'm going to eat some of the other stuff, I'm going to try to suck it in. I'm going to wear shirts that aren't like up against my belly or whatever. I want it, but I'm not willing to commit and do the things that I need to do. So let me go back to this thing because this is a really big one that I want all of you to get. You got to protect your heart and you got to get out there. I don't want to fix something if there's another issue that's going on. And this one is a heart issue. Okay. And so what we've got to do is that we've got to go back to this story and we've got to come up with a new story. Because if I'm willing to write the story, because here's the story that was created. No one wants to work with me and no one wants to pay for my services. And we built that story out of a handful of experiences out of Instagram Messenger. And that's why we're disappointed. So get back in the game and do this thing. I mean, you can absolutely do this. And one more thing that I want to say, because I know, Gina, you're trying to do coaching for people who are recently divorced, and they are and you're calling it transition. I'm going to encourage you on one thing, and I know this because I see your Instagram stuff and everything else, and I get interested and I look at things. Here's a big one for all of you. You do not want to coach people who are in trauma. Now, everybody's got trauma, everybody's got disappointments, everyone's got hurts. But people have got to come up to a certain degree of healing before they can move on in their life. Now, when we pick something, because if a coach says, I want to work with people who are victims of sexual abuse, well, I'm like, well, you're calling them victims. They're not. They need counseling. They need therapy. They don't need a coach. Okay. So for one, I do not identify my business with the trauma. I don't identify it with the problem. I want to identify it with the solution. Now, Gina, I know you're using the word transition coaching, but let's one up that because it's because we want to make progress, and let's think about what kinds of language that we need to do. What if it was like, I was in the shower this morning and just thinking of ideas just really quick because that's what I do. Me 2.0. Maybe we're talking about moving, and we're talking about what? We need to use some language. Let's say this, moving on. I don't know. We need to use some terminology that is, I'm done with this part of my life and I'm healed. Because what's happening is that when you say that you are a coach for people who have gone through divorce, you're going to get a lot. And this is your other challenge, I think. You're going to get a lot of people coming in your funnel that are not ready to be coached yet. So what that means is that some of these people have money issues. Some of them, because I know I've never been through a divorce, but I understand that divorce is like a death. It's like physically, it's a loss that needs to be grieved and those other kinds of things. And it's true. And everybody needs to do that. But there's some people who haven't. Because if you're dealing with somebody who's got bitterness, who's got resentment, who's got hurt, or who has actually been damaged or whatever, they need to go see a counselor. So if you don't define this really well, you're going to get a lot of people coming in here that can't. That's why you were saying that you are, people are asking you questions and you try to give them advice or something like that. That's not what you want to do. You also, for anybody who's listening, you never want to give advice and you never want to try to coach people on the fly, and you don't want to try to coach people through Instagram Messenger. Save this. See this? I save all my coaching for that complimentary session. I can actually do a consultation and find out these questions. The consultation's for me, okay? The consultation is not really for them. The consultation's for me, okay? And I don't have to talk to them to do a consultation. I can ask these questions and get a handle on them. But if they can't even answer these initial questions, the conversation's kind of over with. But never coach people on the fly, and never try to give advice, because coaches don't advise people. They can do a Google search for advice if that's what they want. So if I want to get them to this complimentary session, why would they want to do a complimentary session if you've already given them what you got in the first place? You already tried to coach them on the fly. Now you devalued your complimentary session. You try to give them a bunch of advice. That's not what you do anyway. And so now you've already devalued their complimentary session. They got something out of you for free because they're a window shopper, and they're not showing interest, but they're not really a potential client. And so it's very important that we create the boundaries and we create barriers. When I say create barriers to working with us, what I'm talking about, again, is this door. I'm not going to work with everybody, and I know that. And I'm not going to get offended, and I'm not going to get disappointed about it. I'm going to manage my heart and say that I'm going to wait for the right people, and they're going to get extraordinary change, and I'm going to be well taken care of as far as my business. So we need to have language that's about that is about something fresh, about something new, and so this is where I think the language needs to go. It's got to go something future oriented. So sometime, and I understand that people are kind of stuck, but we want to talk about what's next. What's next for you, those kinds of things. So hopefully all of that was really helpful for you guys. I'm going to look through these comments really, really quickly. Let's see who all is in here. I want to say hi to the people that I see on here really quick. Hey, Pastor, welcome. Marina, welcome. So glad that you were able to make it. Millie from Romania. Yeah, welcome, Millie. And let's see. Here's a question from Rachel. Do you have a coaching niche? How did you decide on one? I'm interested in several and thinking I'll just have to pick one, then adjust as needed, but it would be sweet to get right or close right away. That would be hard to give you a lot of detail on. I'm going to light this up again just so that you guys know as I'm talking about this. We in Jumpstart, what we do is we give you all of the tools to help you really define your target market and define your niche. I do recommend defining your target market and defining your niche. And here's why. Because just because you could work with anyone does not mean that you should. There are certain people that we have chemistry with that we'll do our best to work with. That they'll get the most change. We will be most fully alive working with those kinds of people. We have a bunch of discovery tools to help you process that. And so it would be kind of hard for me just to say all of those things, especially because we're kind of limited time or whatever. And I'm not trying to push you on just to get you to buy something. But what I say is look for the kinds of people who you're most motivated by, that you're excited to work in. Think about the kinds of problems that you like to help people solve, the things that when you hear that, you're like, man, I want to help people get that solution. Those are some of the things that kind of help people define what their target market and their niche is. For those of you who are wondering about enrollment options, let me just say this as an aside. We're an extraordinarily affordable program because we are fully online and on demand. I understand that there are programs out there that cost thousands of dollars. When we started coach training years ago, live training cost us out the wazoo. We decided we would be pioneers in online education. You know why? Because 98% of our students work full time, and they need to be able to set their own schedule. Secondly, we also realize that coaching is, I understand, why does education cost so much? It's because there's a lot of administrative costs, there's a lot of overhead costs, and all of these other kinds of things. And there's no guarantee at the end for those people who go and get a college degree even that they can get a job. This is a big problem. I want you to see me when I'm saying this. The big problem in the coaching world is that we're giving people training in the skills only in coaching, and they don't know how to get a client. And I would say that when you start your practice, it is 10% the skills that you learned in as a coach, and it's 90% business. And unfortunately, a lot of the coaches who are teaching coaching skills have never been successful as coaches. I know that because you go around to mixers and there's a lot of people flaunting credentials. I'm not knocking the industry. I just want to be real and just show you what's going on here. If you don't need business development help, then you can go get trained and get certified and go crush it. You have to understand also that the coaching market doesn't know anything about coaching, and it doesn't know anything about where you got your credential from or anything else. So don't go spend thousands and thousands of dollars on something that's really not going to add value to you as a coach in terms of your marketability. Pick a program, and I'd say that there's a lot of great programs. Find a program that can help you learn coaching proficiency. That's super important, because if your clients are getting results, that's going to be some of your best testimonials if they're getting results. The coaches who will not pay for their coach training, though, let me say this as a caveat: the people who won't pay for their training don't value coaching and are going to go in and out. I see it all the time. People who want something for nothing, that's exactly what they get, is nothing. See that from coaching clients. People who don't want to pay for coaching, they want something for nothing. They're going to end up with nothing because they don't value it. Same thing. I see people all the time who suddenly are like, well, I'm going to be a life coach because I lost my job. That's the reality. It wasn't calling. It was about it was about a herd over here. It was about the lack of money or whatever. And so they were trying to make some kind of a decision. I'm going to go change something. Well, they didn't go invest in any kind of training and certification. So I know that they're not even going to show up on the radar as far as my area or anything else. They're going to be in and out, and then they're going to go find a stable job somewhere because they didn't really want to help people. Okay. So know this. Our life coach certification course, it's 10 modules. It's fully online, on demand. We don't have start and end dates. You can start today. And it takes about 30 hours to get through that program. It's self-paced, so you can knock it out in a week if you wanted to. That program's only $195. And we are the largest life coach training program in North America. We're internationally recognized, and we are also we had about 700 grads last year alone. So we're actually a very big school, even though we're affordable. But we designed the Jumpstart program that you see there, that's $97 a month. We actually designed that program for the coaches who need help getting started. If you look at it, this is an either or. So if you choose Jumpstart, you don't have to pay separately for your certification. It's included, it's bundled with it. But you get a 20 module business development roadmap. You get business development tools. We show you how to have an explosive first coaching session that demonstrates that you can help people. We also have live group coaching calls. So every week I am live with our students on Wednesdays, and I answer every coaching related question, every business related question. We keep you from getting stuck. We also have an online community for support and feedback on anything that you're working on. And you can also role play with other students. This program is only $97 a month. And you get all of that, and you get certified. Now, there's a 3-month minimum commitment, but let's think about this. What is it really? What are we really talking about here? We're talking about, what are we really talking about? We're talking about Starbucks for a month, $3.25 a day to get Starbucks. Maybe you give up caffeine for a month and you change your life. I don't know what you need to do to make something fit in your budget, but the money's there if you're ready to actually make the commitment to doing this kinds of things. So, and hopefully so. So Rachel, hopefully that was a little bit of an answer to your question. Let's see. Do you know of ways to practice coaching online? What are the best ways to get experience and practice? Well, you can practice with anybody. You can practice with friends and family. You can practice virtually if you want to do that. I mean, in our Jumpstart program, our students can role play with one another and get feedback. We actually have an instant feedback tool. But I just think that you go in and do it. You know, don't create obstacles to practice. You can coach anybody that you want. Now, let me say this, is if somebody's not paying for it, it's usually going to be a world of difference. When somebody has skin in the game, compared to if we're just practicing with someone. When someone's practicing, they're doing you a favor, but they get something in return. Okay, that's usually the way that thing goes. But if someone is paying, there's skin in the game and they show up a little more present and they're really involved or whatever. So just know, get as much practice as you can, but don't let lack of experience keep you from moving forward. What if you only practice a couple of times and then you started your business? I think that's a bigger hindrance for a lot of coaches, is they don't think that they have all these inward disqualifiers and it keeps them from starting. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Let's see here. Santos says, great program. Hey, I appreciate that, Santos. Angela says, any tips on making that first step to approaching people about your services? Yes. So let's draw it. And this is also going to help that the question that we were talking about earlier about getting someone to this. See, what we've got to do here is a coaching relationship is born out of people knowing what they want. It's critical, but now they also believe. There's a belief. This requires belief for them to commit to working with me. That there has to be a belief that you can help them get their change. Now, where does this factor come in? Well, it comes in a number of different ways. So if I'm brand new, the first thing that I want to do, I need to define my who and what. So you need to define your target market and you need to define your niche, okay? So who I'm helping and what problems that I'm helping people solve. What solutions, what things are they getting that they want, okay? So that's the first thing. Number two is I need to define them, and whether that's going to be online, whether that's going to be online or wherever they're going to be, I need to go wherever they are, okay? Wherever the eyeballs are going to be, whether that be at a local networking group. And I need to be committed. You know what this committed is? It means that every day I am thinking about this. I am committed to serving. My introducing my coaching services, if I am coming from lack and I'm looking for a client and I'm trying to sell something, you will be in lack and you will not get clients. Okay? That's about as simple as I can tell you on that. What I have got to do is I've got to be committed to serving, because my goal is right here. See this? I want to get this 1 to 10 up to 10. How do I do that? I do things that build trust. I do things that build likability. And then I show a certain level of expertise. Now, a lot of coaches think, oh, I just need to show everybody my credential and that I have a high level of expertise and then they'll do work with me. That's actually not true. 90+% of this, 90+% of somebody working with you is trust and likability. It's not even your expertise, because people do business with people that they like. People work with people who they like, who they think genuinely wants to help them. And so every time that I'm not thinking about how can I sell my coaching services. I'm thinking about how I know who my who is, how can I find them, and how can I serve them the best that I possibly can. And in the process of serving them, I earn trust and I show myself as a likable person, and I reveal some of my expertise. So if you guys are doing this, you can do this on social media. How about I do it on social media? It means that I have to have a commitment every day to doing this. Now, it doesn't have to take a lot of time. I never had really more than 10 hours a month to work on my coaching practice. There's a lot of reasons why. I mean, for me, my wife had chronic illness. We had kids. I had a full-time job. I had a lot going on. I only had 10 hours a month, and I had to keep priorities in order. So, but what did that mean is that I needed to have a plan. Most coaches don't have a plan. They fly by the seat of their pants. They create a like page. They get their mom and 30 other friends to like it. And then they just say, does anybody need a life coach? Does anybody want a life coach? And then they quit. I need to think through social media or whatever I'm doing, how can I serve these people? And how can I build trust and likability? Well, trust and likability is built through just being normal. Hey, look at my like page. You're on my like page right now. Look at my like page. I was trying to get rid of a gopher out of my yard this past week. We were at the beach. I spent a lot of time with my kids. There's all kinds of random kinds of things that are in there. Why? Because I'm a normal person, and people aren't just buying certifications and training, they're buying me because because what you see is what you get. I am this guy all the time. 100% of the time, I want to serve people and I want to help people, and I like to have fun and I love my family. And so you see that a lot in there. So give people a chance to look at you. Now, the thing is that you want to be appropriate about stuff and be careful about it, but trust and likability. And along the way, we show people our expertise. Like today, you're in the room because I'm giving you real content. Here's one thing that I can say. This is no fluff, no BS that a lot of other people do. My wife was trying to watch a webinar a couple of days ago on some kind of a health thing or whatever. And he keeps saying, later I will tell you about this. And in a few minutes, I will tell you about this. I'm not going to do that to people. It actually ruins people's ability to trust you. And there might be some people who will come across the line, but most people you're going to make mad because people don't want to be sold. Okay. They want what you said that you were going to offer them. Okay. And what I trust is that if I can do these things, not everybody will reciprocate, but some will. Some people might stay in the pipeline for 2 years. I don't know. See, because somebody might not be critical right now, but they might be 90 days from now or 60 days from now. And as long as I am as long as I'm doing the things of staying, showing my commitment, doesn't mean that I'm sitting around giving people a lot of free coaching or any of that other stuff. Matter of fact, if they are not at this level, I will not give them a complimentary session. I'll kick that can down the road and we'll try later when they are ready. But on an everyday basis, I'm thinking about my people. I'm thinking about, like, if I'm in a networking group, that you can go and you can just be the person who manages communications, just a task in the group. And now you've made yourself a person who knows everybody's email address, everybody's phone number, and you're the go-to person because because most networking groups have terrible communication. Now that you're the hub, you're the person that everybody goes to, you're the person who knows everybody. Now, you know what I did? I didn't do anything with relation to my business, but I served people. I earned trust and likability. These people are going to become my clients because they're used to coming to me and talking to me. Okay. So hopefully those are some helpful ideas. Santos says, Paul is drawing me in more and more. You are a common sense teacher. It should be, right? Oh, awesome. Okay. Bobby says, is there a replay available? There will be. As soon as this is over with, you'll be able to just like literally go right back to this link in Facebook and be able to watch it. Millie says, what if you don't have testimonials? Well, you can get testimonials from anybody that you want. Get practice sessions with people and ask them at the end of that practice session for a referral and a testimonial. Very easy to get that. You only need a couple of sentences and allow people to tell them what they experienced, but let them do it in very specific terms. Just tell people how you want them to communicate the testimonial. Make it results-based, not, I like them, they're a good listener. Make them say, man, they brought me to some poignant conclusions and solutions about my life, whatever, powerful testimonials. So you can help them. Let's see. Is there any other questions that I see in here? I do not see any. All right. Well, let me do this one more time so we can pay the bills today. All right. If you want to get certified today, go to our website. It's ilifecoachtraining.com. I'll throw it in the comments, but I'm actually going to put it in. I'm going to put it in the description on this video and everything else. It's ilifecoachtraining.com. Don't forget the ilifecoachtraining.com. You can jump in today and start getting trained and certified. We actually do have a free course that you can get started free. That's what we do to build a relationship with people. If this hasn't been enough for you today and you're not certain, then you can kick the tires on coaching and you can kick the tires on us. You can see that we are consistent everywhere we're at. But our life coach certification course, 10 modules, fully online. You can knock this out in 30 hours and be trained and certified by the largest life coach training program in North America. and the #1 online program. Now, we have a Jumpstart program. If you don't know how to get clients, this is for you. We know all the problems because I was that person who graduated from a program and spent thousands of dollars and didn't know how to get my first client. And so what we have done, we know all of the steps. We know all. Here's the thing is I know what your issues are in terms of what's keeping you from moving forward. We have one module that just talks about dealing with your money issues. So it's not just steps. There are the how-to steps, but I do a lot of mindset stuff because I understand that a lot of times your problem is not your how-to. Your problem is sometimes your mindset. And so we do those things. We keep you from getting unstuck. So we show you everything in these modules from how to attract clients, how to sell, how to develop your target market, how to develop your niche. If you went to a networking group today, we show you how to do a 1-minute pitch. We'll give you feedback on your website. Any copy that you want us to take a look at, we do that. And a lot of times we do it in our group coaching call every week. We show you a explosive first coaching session that demonstrates to people when they experience your coaching that they know that you can help them. We show you a template on how to do that convinces people to work with you. We show you how to create multiple streams of income because there's more than one way to create income for your business, than just one-on-one coaching. We show you how to do that. We have a group call every week that is live. We record those. The program has been in existence for Jumpstart alone. It's been in existence for 3 years. And we have all of those archive calls that you can go back through as well. And so if you are interested in that, it's $97 a month. It's extraordinary. It literally is. It is worth $19.50 per month because I know what I charge people on one-on-one, and I know what I charge people in a group and some of these other kinds of things. You are getting a steal to get all of that because no program does all of that. A comprehensive program where you get trained and certified and you get the help, and you will not do this alone. I want you to look at me. You can do this thing. I've seen people, I don't care what your background is. I don't care what your education background is. I don't care how old you are. We have an 18-year-old in Greece that's making 300 pounds a session, 1 hour work, and he's making 300 pounds. We have coaches that are in their 70s that are trained and certified and they're doing it. We have teachers who that was their whole career and they never thought of themselves as business people. And this one of our students, Laura, who's in the Big Island of Hawaii, her whole life she was a teacher and an artist and a photographer, and she thought that was a disqualifier from being an entrepreneur. You know what she's doing now? She's doing business coaching and branding coaching. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world, but she's leveraged all that and she's absolutely crushing it. This is a transformative process that actually happens with you as you take these steps. We want to walk it with you if you're ready. But at the very least, take a look at our website. It's ilifecoachtraining.com. I'll put the link in here under the comments and in the description. I want to look just really quickly and make sure that we didn't miss that. Gina says, I went through the program. It's amazing, very informative and educational. Do sign up. Appreciate that. Excellent. Well, listen, that is all that I have for you today. I appreciate you guys all immensely. Like this page, share it, rewatch it, send it to people that you think are thinking about coaching and that are stuck in some of these areas. I hope it was really beneficial. Listen, have a great rest of your week and take care.